Hello, and welcome to the Simplify the CalTPA workshop. I'm so grateful that you're here today to learn 3 surprisingly easy strategies to getting a high score on your TPA. Let me tell you a little bit about myself and my qualifications to help you pass your TPA. My name is Keisha Fiore, and I live in the Central Valley with my husband and my 2 boys. It's my absolute pleasure to be a teen mom. I love these years, and it's making me heartbroken that my senior is almost ready to graduate. I'm doing everything I can to spend as much time with him as possible. I enjoy being with my family, but they would much rather be on the slopes than sitting by the pool with me. So planning vacations can be a challenge, as you can imagine. My happy place is with my family, but I'm also overjoyed when I get to spend time with new teachers, helping teachers get into the classroom and pass their TPA. I got my bachelor's degree through Chico State and my master's degree through Stanislaus State. I am definitely a Northern California girl. I'm a veteran teacher and instructional coach with 20 years a minimum of 20 years experience in education. It's like 22 now. And I created the CalTPA All You Need to Succeed program and the Simplify the CalTPA workshops to provide a solution and encouragement to credentialing candidates who just need to pass, right? Who need to get through the TPA, move on to more important things. I am an expert in the CalTPA. Not only do I have more than 20 years experience planning high quality lessons with all levels of standards, I started supporting teachers in the classroom with their TPA. I found out that there was no training for school staff on the TPA, but I had mentees that this was their priority. So I took it upon myself to learn more about the TPA. Then I found the answers. I researched it, I worked with dozens of teachers, and I watched the training videos that are given to the university programs. I know what it takes to pass the TPA. Once I helped dozens of teachers pass the TPA the first time, I was able to find the patterns and fully understand exactly what the assessors expect on the TPA. And now I am able to share that information with you. I give 3 surprisingly easy strategies in this workshop so that you know exactly what you need to do in order to pass. At the end, I'll be sharing with how you can get additional support resources to ensure that you know how to write to the TPA and get a pass the first time. How does that sound? Sounds great? Give me a thumbs up. So let's dive right in. If you're just getting started, the first thing you can do to get a high score on the TPA is backward plan. It's like planning a vacation or planning a unit for a lesson. You need to know where you're going and then decide how you're going to get there. I've certainly found myself at a formal assessment at the end of a unit, realizing that my students didn't have all the strategies that the test was expecting, and I had to scrap that test and start over. We do not want that experience for you in the TPA. You do not want to get to the end and not know where you were supposed to have ended up. So you need to backward plan. That means getting to know your assessment guide. Download your assessment guide from the Pearson site where you registered for your TPA. Highlight, annotate, do whatever it takes. Understand the expectations and pay close attention to the things in those highlighted boxes. The green or reddish boxes will tell you how they want things done. Once you've gotten to know your assessment guide well, and the assessment guide is the only thing that you should use to understand what is expected. Do not take advice from anyone without checking it with the assessment guide first. Once you know your assessment guide well, then you need to go into the teach section and get to know the video requirements. The videos will highlight the most important elements of your teaching based on the cycle that you're working on. Cycle 1 is focused on instruction for all students, right? So you're differentiating your instruction and you're helping your students meet the expectation of the learning goals for your grade level. Cycle 2, you do all those things, but it's focused mostly the requirements for videos on the assessments because cycle 2 is assessment driven instruction. So what you look at for the video requirements highlights the parts of the lesson that shows the assessors that you are meeting the expectations for the cycle that you're working on. And while you're backward mapping, you want to choose an essential standard, right? You want to make sure that before you dive right in, that you've chosen the right standard. An essential standard needs to be one of the bigger standards that's easy to differentiate, easy to give multiple strategies, easy to break down so that your students at different levels can meet the expectation. Avoid supporting standards that really have one way to do it, one thing to do, or that they just need to copy after you or repeat after you. You want to choose an overarching or big standard that allows all students to think, analyze, and make meaning on their own and be able to present their learning to the class. The assessment guide can feel overwhelming and convoluted. Breaking down the assessment guide and explaining it in clear, easy to understand language is one of the pieces of the CalTPA All You Need to Succeed program. I'll tell you how you can get that clarity at the end of this presentation. But for now, let's move on to the second thing that you can do to get a high score. If you're writing or you feel like you're getting stuck and repeating yourself over and over, this is very normal. In some ways, you do need to repeat yourself, but it also means that you don't fully understand what you're being asked to do. So let's make it make sense. Each part of the TPA has a specific purpose. It is broken down into 4 parts: planning, teaching, reflecting, and applying. So keep that in mind when you're writing. If you're planning, you're going to be writing in future tense. If you're teaching and doing your annotations, you're going to be talking in present tense. Maybe even a little bit of past tense in your annotations, what they see happening in your annotations. Your reflection is past tense. This is what happened. This is how students did, right? And your application is going to be future tense. What are you going to be doing next? Understanding the purpose of each of the parts and each of the templates will help you write efficiently and effectively for the TPA and keep yourself on track. You also need to answer the questions that are being asked. It's easy to start rambling and talking about things that are not really being asked for. So you need to write specifically. You can do that by answering the questions, by reading them carefully, and using the question as a sentence prompt to make sure that you're answering it the way that it's intended to be answered. Often there are multiple parts to the question, so stop and think. What are they really wanting me to answer here? What is this going to tell them about my planning, teaching, reflecting, or applying? So if you're in the getting to know your students template, these questions are about getting to know the students. If you're on the planning template, this is about planning your lesson, not explaining it. There's a template for everything that they need to see, and get to know the templates before you start answering questions so that you don't repeat yourself unnecessarily. And then emphasize the important things by using data and examples to support your answer. What do you know that you can add to your response that gives examples and data that will boost your writing to the next level? Aligning your writing to the rubrics will help you do that also. And then you should write in first person. When you remember that this is about you and your students, You avoid rambling and you get to focus on what's important. The questions are asking you to think and write like a veteran teacher, but you don't have to answer with veteran responses. When you understand what they're really asking, you can finish quickly. In the CalTPA All You Need to Succeed program, examples aligned to the rubrics are provided, and I will tell you more about that when we get to the end. But make sure that you know that you are writing answers to the questions that are being asked. So the first thing that you need to do to get a high score is know your outcomes. Know what's expected before you get started by backward planning. The second thing you need to do is answer the question specifically. Let the assessors see your response quickly and clearly, precisely, so that they can score you. And we're going to talk about rubrics in just a second, but so that they can give you the high levels of scores on the rubrics. Do not make them search for the answers in your content, right? And you can do that by aligning your responses to the rubric. If you're checking your work or revising your work for a resubmission, use the rubrics to ensure that you've included all of the essential elements and parts. The rubrics are exactly what the assessors use to score your assessments. They start with the level 3 and read each of those criteria. They call them constructs in the TPA. If you meet all the criteria of the level 3, they move on to the level 4 and see if you've met those requirements. And then on to the level 5, right? If you're working at the level 3 and you miss any of the constructs in the level 3, it will bounce down to the level 2, and they will look at the level 2 and see if you've met all the constructs of the level 2. If anything's missing from a level 2, then you get a 1. There is no half scores, so you will fall fully into one category. So make sure that you've included all the criteria in the level that you are trying to reach, the 3, 4, and 5. All right. Aligning the rubric with the template that you're working on will help you while you set the rubric next to you while you work, so that you can use the keywords and phrases from the rubric in your writing. Since the assessor uses the rubric to score your assessment, it makes sense to highlight keywords and phrases from the rubric and draw the assessor's eyes to the high levels of the rubric. When you write to the rubrics, the assessors know that you know that what you're talking about. So make sure that you are aligning your writing to the constructs of the rubric, that you're using keywords and phrases. So today we've talked about 3 surprisingly easy things that you can do to get a high score. And when it all boils down to is knowing the expectation and giving the assessor exactly what they're looking for. First, you do that by knowing your outcomes and backward mapping, answering the questions as they're intended to be answered by answering only what is being asked, and giving details and data to support your responses. And the third thing is double check your work. Make sure that you can bold or highlight, I like the word bold better, some of the keywords and phrases from the rubric in your writing so that the assessor's eyes are drawn to the most essential elements. There's a lot of stuff related to the TPA. The TPA is like an elephant. It's huge. It's a big project. And people get overwhelmed. Even today, I've given you a lot of information, and I don't want you to feel overwhelmed by it. So before I tell you how to get even more detailed, step-by-step expert support, I want you to reflect on the information that you've already collected today. Just like the saying goes, you eat an elephant one bite at a time. So the same is true with the TPA. You complete the TPA one step at a time. When you take it step by step, you feel more confident as you work, and you submit your assessment easily and more quickly than you do when you get overwhelmed and stuck. So what you need to do is pick your first next step. What are you going to do next to get started and take the first step forward? Write that down, jot that down, and commit to yourself. What are you going to do? Your first next step is that download the templates and the assessment guide and read it. Is that understand the purpose of the template that you're working on? Is it to go back and change any of your content to meet the requirements of the rubrics? What do you need to do next to confidently submit your TPA? Now, stick around for just a few more minutes, and I'm going to tell you about the CalTPA All You Need to Succeed program. I'm going to tell you how to write and how to submit your best work. That's amazing, isn't it? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. So the CalTPA All You Need to Succeed video program is all about how to do the work. In the Simplify the CalTPA workshop that you are watching right now, I've told you what to do to get a high score. But how to do it is the part that seems to trip people up the most. How do you write to the levels of the rubric? How do you choose the correct essential standard? How do you answer the questions in a way that aligns with the rubrics and gets the attention of the assessors? So you know what to do. The next thing is how to do it. And you're here because you don't feel like you can power through this thing, get this assessment done, and understand the templates. They seem convoluted, unclear. You're feeling a little bit overwhelmed and maybe even disillusioned about this whole process, right? You've never done an assessment like this before, and it's okay to have those feelings, but I don't want you to get lost in them. Just like every one of my clients, if you are stuck or you're feeling unsure or you're not on the right track and you're filling out the questions hoping that you're answering what the assessors are asking for, you don't need to have those feelings. Once you have the clear explanations and clear understanding of what each question is asking that you get in the CalTPA All You Need to Succeed program, you'll be able to write confidently and submit confidently and pass your CalTPA. You can use the rubric aligned examples and explanations to submit your highest quality, best work. So the CalTPA All You Need to Succeed program is a series of 10 to 12 easy to follow and easy to understand modules. One thing that I pride myself in is understanding what you, the new teacher, is feeling and needs to understand. The writers of the TPA put this in veteran teacher language. But what I'm able to do is explain the questions in new teacher, easy to understand language. Each of the modules cover things such as how to get started and plan the perfect lesson, not missing a single essential element. How to write to the rubrics, making sure that you've aligned your content to the key words and phrases in the rubrics. What to record, and how to write to your annotations, right? What is an annotation? Where do I write it? How do I write it? What belongs in the annotations? All those things are covered in the CalTPA All You Need to Succeed program. Then I go template by template, question by question through each of the templates to make sure that you understand what template is aligned to which rubric. And I provide examples from high quality passing projects aligned to the rubrics and explain to you what makes a good answer for the questions that you're asking. I also give you all the tips and tricks that I've learned through helping dozens and dozens of teachers one-on-one pass the first time and make sure that you've got all the information to work smarter, not harder on this project. These modules take the guessing out of the process. It gives you all the how to pass and what you need to succeed. No more confusion for you. How does that sound? Awesome, right? Give me a thumbs up. Just click the link below to get started and pass your CalTPA in just a few short weeks. Now, teachers who've used this program know exactly what to do and how to do it. They feel like they have the clarity they need. They submit quickly and celebrate their passing scores. And here are a few examples of the hundreds of thank yous that I have received. This is how I know it works. 100% of clients who try the cycle 1 materials purchase the cycle 2 materials. 100% of the feedback that I receive is positive and grateful. And 100% of my one-to-one clients pass the first time, and I'm passing all of that experience on to you. I've helped hundreds of teachers to pass both cycles and move on to get their dream jobs. I look forward to every time they tell me all about what's going on in their classroom. And you can have that too, starting right now. I absolutely care about your success, and I put that heart into all of the work that I have done. Get it today, and in just a few short weeks, you can get finished. Click the link below for more information. Listen, I want you spending your time on what's important. I want you applying for and keeping your dream job. I want you spending time with family and friends. I don't want to see you struggle through this. I don't want you up at night. I don't want all your weekends spent on this. It is important to invest in yourself to understand what to do on an assessment that's different than anything you've ever been asked to do before. On average, my clients finish and pass their TPA in 6 to 8 short weeks. Got a little lost. On average, it takes my clients 6 to 8 weeks to complete the CalTPA while doing life at the same time. I provide for you all the expert knowledge you need for only $199 today. All of that I know, all my expert advice, all my tips and tricks, all the examples, everything that you've seen so far is available for you for only $199 when you click the link below. But you're here today. And I know that even though all the videos are intended to answer all of your questions, you are stressed and anxious about this project. So for those who are attending this workshop today, I'm going to give you unlimited Q&A in a private members only Facebook page for the length of time that you need to finish your TPA and pass. I'm going to provide all of this for just a small additional fee of $39 for unlimited questions and answers, unlimited support in the CalTPA Q&A group. I want to ensure that you have expert answers to any of your questions. No more relying on colleagues who barely have done this themselves. But I want you to stop wondering, stop worrying, and stop being stuck. Anytime you get to a question that you're just unsure or is related specific to your program and you need some advice, reach out and I'm happy to answer your questions. So you have unlimited access to the videos and unlimited Q&A, and they're here for you until you are confident and ready and you pass. Basically, lifetime access to the materials until you are done. Click the link below and get started now. I look forward to being part of your teaching process. Keep me updated. I love to know how it's going. Have a great day.